It was a horrible act. The Galileans were offering their sacrifices when Pilate ordered his soldiers to murder innocent people and mingle their blood with their offerings. It was a senseless desecration of life and the people's sacrifices. And what of the suffering of the 18 people who were killed at the fall of the Tower of Siloam? And what of the suffering and destruction in Ukraine, or refugee camps, or everywhere famine steals away life? As difficult as it sounds, suffering is a part of life. No matter how much we attempt to stay safe from harm, suffering occurs. The forces of evil at work in the world undermine our best efforts for safety and security. We are not exempt from being drawn into or tripped up by Satan. Evil takes many forms and seductively taps into our desires. Paul warns the people of Corinth at the pitfalls of being comfortable. The everyday pleasures they enjoy may also become their downfall. The people sat down to eat and drink, and they rose up to play. He cautions about complaining and about being careful on how one considers oneself. If you think you are standing, watch out that you do not fall. Have you ever experienced your position, your thoughts, or your beliefs being challenged? Remember Job, a good man who was challenged by Satan with God's permission? He lost everything: family, possessions, livestock, became physically ill, and was challenged and chided by his closest friends. But Job was not tested beyond his strength. In the end, he received even more in return through remaining faithful to God. He held fast to his trust, faith, and belief in God. The events of the past several years have helped make us become aware of the abundance and ease in our lives. There are so many things we have taken for granted. Easy access to the world, goods, and resources. The never-ending stream of items available from Amazon and other online businesses. Low gas prices. A feast of readily accessible food from all over the world. Through the pandemic, we have come to understand in many ways how the world is interconnected. We have seen the impact of global travel on spreading the virus, how what each person does and how we live can change the lives of others. Now, with the global upheaval of the war in Ukraine, we are becoming aware of how what is done or not done on behalf of others also greatly impacts the world. The warning within our scripture today is, unless you repent, you will all perish just as they did. This was said in response to the tragic deaths of the two events. The people being slaughtered at offering their gifts, and the fall of the Tower of Siloam. And we might wonder, what is one to do in the face of human suffering? Especially suffering halfway around the world. And perhaps we come back to that. Repent, which means turn around. break the hard surface around the heart and intentionally turn the heart and soul back to God. In the parable of the unyielding fig tree, the owner, having not received fruit from the tree for 3 years, orders it to be cut down. But the gardener intercedes on behalf of the fig tree. Sir, let it alone for 1 more year until I dig around it and put manure on it. If it bears fruit next year, well and good. But if not, you can cut it down. When soil is packed hard, it is hard for anything to grow. It also requires much care and strength to turn it, to break up the hard surface and prepare it. So it is with tilling the soil of the heart. It takes determination and effort to break up the hard shell covering and expose the tender flesh of the heart. Only when the hard shell is broken is a nurturing environment revealed and readied for love, generosity, and faith, and the ability to endure and embrace suffering can grow. Jesus and experience teach us as we walk with him to Jerusalem, into the heart of suffering. We watch and participate as the world turns on him. We endure the silence of his absence, and then rejoice in the bursting forth of new life as he rises from the grave. Perhaps we must ask ourselves, are we honest with ourselves and others? Do we humble ourselves to be honest about who we are and what we have done and left undone? And in being honest and humble, are we hopeful that together we will find our way forward in the world, for the world? Life is short, and we never know how long we may have. We must get on with living and realize that ultimately the riches of our lives may not look like what we want or expect. There is a story about a farmer who lay on his deathbed, despairing over the fate of his lazy sons. And you may have heard it from me before, but it's worth telling again. Near his final hour, an inspiration came to him. He called his sons around his bedside as close as they could get. I am soon to leave this world, my sons, he whispered. I want you to know that I have left a treasure of gold for you. I have hidden it in my field. Dig carefully and well, and you shall find it. I ask only that you share it among yourselves evenly. The sons begged him to tell them exactly where he had buried the treasure, but the father breathed his last breath and spoke no more. As soon as their father was buried, the sons took up their pitchforks and shovels and began to turn over the soil in their father's field. They dug and dug until they had turned over the whole field twice. They found no treasure. But they decided that since the field was so well dug up, they might as well plant some grain as their father had done before then. The crop grew well for them. After the harvest, they decided to dig again in hopes of finding the buried treasure. Again, they found not a treasure, but a field prepared for sowing. This year's crop was better than the last. This went on for a number of years until the sons had grown accustomed to the cycles of the seasons and the rewards of their daily labor. In spite of their unrealistic expectations based on their father's lie to them, they had done the right thing. using what was left to them in the most efficient manner. By that time, their farming had earned them each enough money to live a happy life. It was then that the sons came to the realization of the true nature of the treasure their father had left for them. It wasn't what they had expected or hoped for, but it had its rewards. Oftentimes the treasure of our lives is right here, right now, in the suffering or comfort, the sadness or joy, in having simply enough. All it takes to discover the true treasure of your life is to faithfully tend the soil of your heart to reveal what true treasure God has buried in the heart of your own soul. Amen.